Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Today I have a very special guest. David Pourquery is the founder and CEO of Groas, an AI company building what he calls a fully autonomous Google Ads management system. With a background spanning equity, venture capital, and hands-on e-commerce, David built Groas to eliminate inefficiencies he saw in traditional ad management. As a bootstrapped founder, he has scaled the platform to manage more than 35 million in monthly Google Ads spend. While challenging the conventional marketing agency model, he brings a sharp operator level perspective on automation, margins, and how AI is changing business execution. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lance. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, before we get into what you do now, tell us how you got here. Are you from a family of entrepreneurs? Where does that entrepreneurial spirit come from for you?
No, not really, actually. Not at all. I think it was probably, there was always something there. I think when I was young, I always knew eventually I wanted to do my own thing. But I started off actually just working in finance, really. So my first job out of uni was in venture capital, then spent a couple of years in private equity, hating life, to be quite frank, and knowing that eventually I'd want to do my own thing. So weekends, I had no life. Evenings, I had no life whilst I was trying to build stuff on the side. And eventually Groas came along, so here we are now.
Very cool. Yeah, let's dive into Groas and tell us about the problem that you saw previous to building it, which then led to building it and that you were trying to solve.
Sure, yeah. So look, we're now basically at full autonomy on Google Ads, right? Which is we have AI agents overseeing millions and millions of dollars monthly ad spend with no oversight, right? We didn't start off that way, right? So Groas started off as a SaaS, like a proper SaaS, like people would use the product. It gave recommendations on your Google Ads campaigns. Super uninspiring, super basic stuff. But starting off with that enabled us to get lots and lots of users, and then start building towards full autonomy. So, and by the way, when I started Groas, I didn't have a plan ever to get to full autonomy. It's not something that I was like, oh, I just wanted to build something better for Google Ads. I'd been doing it myself for a little bit. I've been coding, by the way, since I was quite young, 13, 14, studied computer science. So I had a bit of a technical background. And yeah, just wanted to build something that was better. There was some stuff around dynamic landing pages I wanted to do. So yeah, started off that way and then eventually evolved basically a 6-month rebuild that we did to get to genuine end-to-end full autonomy. So it's been technically very, very challenging to get here.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, it's amazing. I think, yeah, I mean, we're on the cusp of like revolutionary stuff for sure, and people are, head just diving into it. Tell us about if you could contrast maybe Groas from a traditional marketing agency in the sense of what is a traditional agency doing that is essentially broken, that you're solving?
Oof, so I mean, look, I have to be careful what I say, right? So we have two customer bases at this point, right? Which is one, people firing their agencies and then moving everything to Groas. Okay, great, and doing that at basically 20% of the price, roughly in general, is what we've seen. And two, agencies themselves who will plug Groas into their end customers and then have to do zero work for them. Well, and that means they don't have to hire extra people. If they want to scale their own agency, they don't have to hire extra people. They can have Groas run their entire agency for them, and literally no one knows. Their end customer doesn't know, and everyone's happy, right? What's broken, I think, a little bit in the agency model, I think pricing is a big one. I think incentive structures are a big one. They often lock people into big contracts, create massive setup costs for doing very little. And the other thing as well that we see is do quite little on the accounts themselves. In Google Ads, you can look at change history. So you can actually see what are users doing on that campaign to improve it. And whenever we take over an account from an agency, the first thing we'll do is look at those change history logs to see like what have they been doing daily or weekly to optimize those campaigns. You'd be so surprised as to how little is being done, how little they do. Whereas obviously Grass works 24/7. So I think that's something else that I bring up. No, but ourselves, we do operate really like a traditional agency now, right? Because now we do a proper onboarding, we understand the business, and there's that relationship aspect. So we're not just purely, hey, sign up, we never speak to you. No, everybody, no matter how small, gets a dedicated human there as well.
Yeah, which leads me into the fully autonomous phrase, right? So it sounds like there is some human interaction. What is, when you talked about fully autonomous before, what is that? Can you put it in the context of Groas?
Yeah, so fully autonomous around the day-to-day actions that are needed to scale a campaign successfully, right? So when you create a campaign in Google Ads, particularly Google, which is I think the most complicated platform for paid ads, you can't just set it and forget it. There are
Hmm.
that campaign needs to be constantly tweaked, update, you need to update ad copy. There's a million possible actions that a human can do effectively to make sure that campaign scales in a positive way, whilst of course making sure that the setup is done correctly, right? The human element in Groas. Again, context for this, why we now basically do make onboardings mandatory, is because when we released full autonomy in January of this year, 1st of Jan, full autonomy for everyone, right? When someone signed up at the time, there'd be an automated email, hey, let's get on a call just to see how we can help, whatever, whatever. What we found categorically, like there was like no discrepancy, categorically, is anyone who had refused that call, maybe
Hmm.
10% of users who just refused to get on an onboarding call, they all eventually churned. All of them. Like in the first month or 2 months. We're like, okay, this is weird. Like what is going on? We then did digging to understand what occurred. What occurred is they are coming to Groas with Google Ads accounts that are completely messed up. Maybe they're not
Mm.
tracking conversions correctly. The campaigns are all screwed from multiple previous agencies. And then when they connect Groas to a campaign, they did it self-serve. They expect Groas to overnight just flip the switch, delete all the old campaigns, and that's not how it works because grass works incrementally. So really, the purpose of the human is only in the first 24 hours. It's to get to know the business, see what's gone on, do a bit of an audit, align next steps, and then after that, really, ideally in an ideal world, the human has zero to do with actually managing that account day to day. So yeah, that means we can have one account manager basically overseeing lots and lots of ad spend.
Yeah, yeah. Gotcha. Well, everybody, if they work with you, they should take you up on that 10-minute call. Good, noted, noted. Very like I see what you, and thank you for breaking that down too, because I think people still want somewhat of a human touch, and I'm glad you talked about like the positives and negatives about that. 35 million is no number to scoff at. I just want to congratulate you. Like that's impressive. What have you learned from managing that much money?
Oof, so many learnings. So much. I mean, look, the hardest bit, I think, for us has been changing the perception of grass as some little tool, because that's what it was at the start. It was like a little tool to maybe improve performance. To now, we are a custody. Like we hold your account. Like it's our responsibility. Major, major difference. What else? I mean, like in terms of customers, obviously the old saying is definitely true, right? I think the smaller spending customers take up so much more time from our
Yeah.
account managers than like the people who know what they're doing.
Hmm.
But look, there's so many learnings. There's so many learnings. I think that the hardest bit has been technically speaking. Doing this has been very, very challenging to get to this point. The beauty is, though, is that as far as I know, no one like we were the first to genuinely, excuse my French, have the balls to just release this and like actually put this on real people's like campaigns, right? That gives us and has given us a huge advantage in terms of actually doing this correctly, right?
Hmm.
Like autonomy on grass in April 2026 is maybe 2 times better than it was in January 2026.
Mm.
Right? And the more customers we get, the more learning data we get, the more training data we get, the better it gets. So like we have an accumulating advantage, which I think is good. But yeah, the start was definitely not easy.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah. Bravo, though. So if you talked about, smaller fish, let's call them that, and that they're sometimes it takes a lot more finesse to catch the smaller fish. The big one, he's just hungry. He's just swimming around eating all the good stuff. But we have a lot of small fish that listen to this show. And so what is the minimum Google amount of you need people to spend on Google Ads in order for you to entertain engaging them
Yeah, I would say 2 to 3K
per
minimum a
month?
month. Yeah, per
Yeah.
month, which is
Okay.
not all that much, but I would say that's the bare minimum. If you want to spend like 500 or 1,000, then it's probably not a fit.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, very good to know. I think 2 to 3K a month. I will tell you, as somebody who spends much more than that on our marketing, it is a drop in the bucket, and the returns are huge. So I just want to give you some credence to that. Where do human marketers then? We already talked about the 10-minute call, how important that is, but there's got to be places where human marketers are still outperforming AI. Could you speak on that? Maybe
For sure.
not.
No, I mean, I think that what we have seen, we have a lot of agencies that use us, and like so we know this. The important bit in this game is actually the relationship, the constant communication around that. That's the important bit, right? Now, obviously, AI does the reporting for us, by the way, but still, people who
Hmm.
are spending good amounts of money with you want a face, and they also want someone to hold the responsibility for what might happen. So I think relationships and I think overall strategy. And that's something still that the human decides now with Grass, which is like, okay, we're going to look at your account. What are we aiming for in the first month? Because these things change. I think overall strategy, still a human is necessary to set that, negotiate that, because that's also negotiation, set expectations. You can't really do that just with an AI. If you chat with an AI around expectations, it can tell you, yeah, you're a genius. You should get so many leads. So like, I think those two elements are probably the ones I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. AI has a tendency to glaze you, whether you're right or
Exactly.
wrong. Yeah, and I'm not sure. Yeah, you got to be careful.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So, since we mentioned earlier, a lot of folks are really diving headfirst into all of this artificial intelligence related. Google even came out with like a marketing plugin. I can't remember what it's called, something with a G, I think, where you can plug in your website and it gives you a marketing plan and all of that. And then I've seen people really make some mistakes uh, in how in the way they're writing specifically. For example, I'm getting emails now where I'm like, you wrote that with AI.
Yeah,
Like
for
you
sure.
gotta fool me a little bit here. I mean, I really still need
Hmm.
human interaction at some point. It's got to be genuine. What mistake what is the biggest mistake you think you see a lot of people making when they just dive in with the AI marketing?
Whew. Yeah, it depends. I would say the big one that sometimes we see, and apologies if you're listening, but AI slop websites, AI slop images, like websites that are clearly done by AI. You can see it from a mile away. I think that's a big one. Copy. I mean, look, I think it's clear that some models are better than others for writing copy.
Hmm.
Writing good authentic copy. And then also it's like the context you feed it. But I would say sloppy websites, sloppy images that do look too AI generated. And then obviously just not tailoring what you're doing for your ideal customer avatar. That's the big one. Just doing stuff that's too generic, one size fits all, that probably won't work anymore.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, there's got to be. What we found is like it's a sort of a filter situation where we start with human, then we go AI in the middle, and then we polish it up with human to really make sure. I think it can do a lot of heavy lifting for you, but the idea that you're just going AI and then that's it is not proper. Or human to AI and then just publish, I think is where the issue really comes to. There's the multiple fingers, all the artifacts, all that kind of crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, if you were starting from scratch today, how would you build what you're doing with Groas differently?
Whew. So I think we did do the right thing in terms of starting with us, not knowingly. Like I said, like I never imagined we would get to this point. I didn't even think it was possible, to be honest. It's not the plan. Um, I do think I would be maybe more careful with who we accept, make it
Mm.
probably be a bit more careful. Having said that, without so many hundreds of users that we had at the start, it would just not be possible to get to where we're at now, right? To build the custom trained models, etc., etc. Um, so it's a tough one. It's actually a tough one. I don't know. I don't want to say we've done everything right. We've definitely made a lot of mistakes. Um, but I think doing it the way we did, which is get a lot of users, get a lot of data, was still the right move for eventually where we landed, to be
Could
honest.
you could you tell us about maybe one of your most, without naming names, one of your most successful, most successful companies you've seen with a return on everything you're doing, their growth rate, stuff like that. Do you have any case studies you could share?
Yeah, it depends. Like so many types of angles, right? So either like ones where it's just like this, like straight up, is
Mm.
typically where the ad account's just been dead for ages, or it's been spending so little that's been completely misconfigured. Those are such easy wins. Like that's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
That's not interesting. The interesting ones are where people come to us, they're already spending like six figures a month, effectively, through Google Ads, but it's been dwindling. And again, we have to diagnose why that is. Those are the biggest wins in terms of ROI, where like there's a good amount of historical data in the account. We have a lot to work with, and you can see the number just go up much more than if you're just only spending, I don't know, 15, 20K a month. So I would say the bigger accounts is where you can see the much, much bigger wins, always, for sure. And when things have gone wrong, it's typically always because it was just mismanaged.
From the
Almost,
beginning.
yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you guys are correcting the ship. Gosh. Okay. Very cool. Two questions here as we run up on the end of your interview. This is a specific to David, the entrepreneur now, but previous. So knowing what you know now, and if you could go back in time when you first started Groas, what is one piece of advice you'd give your former entrepreneurial self?
Yeah, I would say, mm, yeah, whenever, maybe when there's smoke, there's fire. So I would say like if there's a particular situation where I'm like 50-50, oh, should I use or not? If my instinct is telling me to do it, you got to do it immediately. Cut it off. Whether it's a bad employee, a bad customer, that can happen.
Hmm.
Uh, to cut it off immediately. That would be my advice. Not wait and not drag it out.
Yeah, I love that. If people want to find, follow, connect, and eventually work with you, how do they do that, David?
Sure. At our website, groas.ai, GROAS.ai. I think all our info is there, to be honest. Me personally, my email's at dp@groas.ai. But yeah, if you go on the website, you'll definitely be able to get in touch.
Beautiful. Well, I hope some people check out the Google Ads piece of software and AI that you're working that you develop. I think it's intriguing. Google Ads absolutely works. So we just want to say thanks for being on the show today, David. We appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Lance. Pleasure.
Yes, sir.